Disclaimer: this content is only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. I never imagined I'd be sitting here telling this story. You think you know someone, especially the person you share a home, a bed, and years of your life with. But sometimes, the biggest shocks come from right inside your own house. It started like any normal day. I was making coffee, checking my emails, and thinking about dinner plans. My husband, Raj, was in the shower, humming a tune like he always does when he's getting ready for work. He kissed me goodbye like he always does. Nothing felt off until I noticed he left his phone on the kitchen counter. Now, I'm not the snooping type. But something, call it gut instinct, pulled me toward that phone. I didn't unlock it. I just saw a preview message on the screen. A name I didn't recognize. "Can't wait to see you again, Blackheart," it said. I froze. My heart was pounding, but my mind told me not to jump to conclusions. Maybe it was just a friend. Maybe it was work-related. Maybe. I was overthinking. I told myself not to panic. But once doubt enters your head, it grows like a weed. Over the next few days, I started noticing small things. The extra cologne. The sudden interest in going to the gym. The late meetings that never existed before. And the smiles, the kind that didn't reach his eyes when he looked at me anymore. I tried to act normal. I cooked his favorite meal. I laughed at his jokes. I even planned a weekend away, hoping to reconnect. He agreed, but something about his yes felt empty. Like he was trying to convince himself as much as me. Then came the moment that changed everything. It was the look I hadn't seen directed at me in months. That was the moment I realized sometimes cheating isn't about sex or secrets. Sometimes, it's about attention, connection, and giving pieces of yourself to someone who isn't your partner. But what I discovered next made everything even more confusing. And it's the part one still don't fully understand. Was it an affair? Was it just friendship? Was I reading too much into something innocent, or had I ignored the signs for too long? I want to know what you think. If you were in my shoes, would you confront him? Would you call it emotional cheating? Or is it possible for someone to connect deeply with another person and still love their partner? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should I give him the benefit of the doubt or trust my instincts? I couldn't sleep that night. I kept playing the scene over and over in my head, Raj sitting there with her, smiling in a way he hadn't smiled at me in a long time. I didn't know who she was. I didn't even know how long this had been going on. And that was the part that hurt the most, not knowing. The next morning, everything felt fake. He was back home like nothing happened. He made breakfast, asked how I slept, even mentioned booking the weekend trip I suggested. It felt like watching a movie of my own life, but I didn't recognize the characters anymore. I wanted to scream, to ask him who she was, to demand the truth. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I started paying more attention. I checked his schedule, casually asked about his meetings. I noted what time he left the house and what time he got back. I wasn't trying to play detective, I just needed to make sense of what was happening. Something was off, and I needed answers. Raj had always been a good husband. We've been married for 4 years, and before this, I would have told anyone we were solid. We had our ups and downs, sure, but who doesn't? We laughed a lot, talked about everything, and even during arguments, we never got cruel. But lately, the silence between us had stretched too long. Conversations had turned into checklists. We were sharing space, not moments. Looking back now, I realize I missed signs. He started locking his phone more, taking calls in another room, being vague about his day. He said it was just work stress, and I believed him. Or maybe I wanted to believe him because the alternative was too painful. One day, I couldn't help myself. While he was in the shower, his phone lit up again. I didn't unlock it, just glanced. Same name. Same pattern. Last night was really nice. Thanks for understanding. My heart sank. What was she understanding? What was he hiding? I thought about asking his friends, but we didn't have mutual ones close enough for that. I didn't want to stir up drama until I knew the full picture. So I turned to the one person who always told me the truth, my older sister. I told her everything, from the strange messages to the cafe. She was quiet for a while and then said something that stuck with me: "You don't need proof to feel distant. If something feels wrong, it usually is." But still, I wasn't sure. Was I being paranoid? Could he really be having an emotional affair? Or was it just a close friendship I didn't understand? I kept telling myself I needed more. More signs. More clarity. I needed to catch him saying something that crossed a line. Something I couldn't explain away. Because if I confronted him now, and he denied it, then what? Tell me in the comments, have you ever had that gut feeling something was wrong, but no one believed you? What would you do in my place? Stick around. A few days after talking to my sister, I decided to stop guessing and start finding out. I wasn't going to sit in silence while my own thoughts destroyed me. So I came up with a plan. Nothing dramatic, just quiet observation. I started noting when Raj left, who he said he was meeting, and if those stories lined up. And more often than not, they didn't. One night, he said he had to meet a client for dinner. I nodded like always, pretending to believe him. But this time, I followed him. I stayed back, careful not to get seen. My heart was racing the whole time. I knew I was crossing some line, but I also knew I needed the truth. He wasn't at a business dinner. He was parked on a quiet street, walking into what looked like a residential building. My stomach dropped. Was he seeing her in private? Was this physical now, or still emotional? I didn't follow him inside. I just watched from a distance, hands shaking, questions buzzing through my head. That night, I couldn't look at him. I barely spoke. He didn't seem to notice. Or maybe he was pretending not to. The silence between us felt louder than ever. But here's where the story twisted. I started getting anonymous messages. At first, I thought it was a scam. But they knew things, details about Raj's meetings, places he'd been, and even that night at the cafe. One message said, "He's not who you think he is." That one hit me hard. Was someone trying to warn me? Or play games? I didn't know who to trust anymore. The messages kept coming. Short, vague, but sharp enough to shake me. Then came one that made everything more complicated. It said, "She doesn't know about you either." So now there's another twist. Does this woman even know he's married? Is he lying to both of us? Or is she part of something else entirely? I tried to confront him that night, but the words didn't come out. I just stared at him across the table, wondering how many secrets he was hiding behind that calm face. He noticed something was off and asked if I was okay. I smiled and said I was just tired. He nodded, like he believed it. Or maybe he didn't care enough to ask again. I started feeling like a stranger in my own home. Every time his phone buzzed, my chest tightened. Every time he left the house, I wondered where he really was. And somewhere in all this, I started doubting myself. Was I losing it? Overthinking? Creating problems where there were none? But those messages kept coming. And they weren't just about Raj anymore. There's more going on here than just one man and one secret. And I think I'm not the only one watching. What do you think is really happening? Who's sending the messages? And is this woman a victim like me or something else? Drop your theories in the comments. What would you do if you were in this mess? Part 4 is where everything starts to unravel. Don't miss it. The next message changed everything. It had an address. No name, no warning, just a location and the words, "Go now if you really want to know the truth." I stared at it for what felt like forever. My heart was racing, my hands sweaty. This was it. The moment I'd been waiting for, or maybe the moment I'd been dreading. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't even think twice. I grabbed my keys and left. It was raining. Of course it was. Like some cliché scene in a movie, but it fit the mood perfectly. The drive felt long, though it was only 20 minutes away. My mind was flooded with every possible scenario. What was I about to walk into? Would Raj be there? Would she be? Was I about to catch them red-handed or uncover something even worse? When I pulled up to the address, it was a small, quiet apartment complex. Lights off in most of the units. No noise. Just the sound of light rain tapping the windshield. I sat there for a few minutes, unsure what to do. My phone buzzed again. Apartment 3B. Go now. I walked up slowly, feeling like I wasn't fully in my own body. Every step felt heavier than the last. When I reached the door, it was slightly open. Just enough to feel wrong. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to turn around and leave. But I'd come too far. I pushed the door open. The room was dimly lit, quiet. I took a few steps inside, calling out softly. No answer. I almost backed out until I saw something on the table. A photo. Of me and Raj. A photo we had taken on our 2nd anniversary. Just sitting there like it belonged in that stranger's space. And then I heard a voice behind me. I was wondering when you'd come. I turned around. And there she was. The woman from the cafe. She looked calm. Almost too calm. Like she had been expecting this moment for a while. She smiled slightly and said, "You must be his wife." I couldn't speak. My throat tightened. I was prepared for anger. Tears. Even a fight. But not this, calmness. Like she knew something I didn't. "I'm not here to fight," she said. "I just think you deserve to know what's been happening." But before I could ask a single question, my phone buzzed again. A new message. Not from the same number. This one said, "You're in danger. Get out of there." That's when I realized something was off. This wasn't just about cheating. This wasn't just about Raj and another woman. This felt bigger, stranger, like layers I hadn't even started to peel back. I looked at her, and she didn't seem surprised by the message. She just tilted her head and said, "I guess it's time you found out everything." What do you think I should have done at that moment? Should I have stayed and listened, or trusted the warning and left? Something tells me whatever's coming next, there's no going back. Drop your guesses in the comments, because the next part will leave you questioning everything. I didn't move. I couldn't. Her calm face, the strange photo on the table, and now this message, "You're in danger. Get out of there." My body wanted to run, but my mind needed answers. She looked at me again, almost like she was waiting for me to choose. Then she said, "I'm not the one who sent that message. But I know who did." I narrowed my eyes, trying to make sense of her. "Who are you?" I finally asked. She didn't say her name right away. She just motioned for me to sit. I stayed standing. My heart was pounding too hard to relax. She glanced at the photo on the table and finally said, "Raj and I used to be together. Years ago. Before you." I wasn't expecting that. She went on. "He never told you about me, did he? We were serious. But he ended things without warning, disappeared from my life. I moved on, or at least I tried to." She stood and walked toward the window. "Then, about 6 months ago, he contacted me. Said he wanted to apologize. Said he was in a complicated place in his marriage." The words hit like a punch to the chest. So he did reach out. He did start something. But she wasn't done. I agreed to meet him. Just to talk, I swear. But then he kept coming back. Kept showing up, texting, saying he was confused, that you were distant, that things weren't the same anymore. My throat tightened. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. Because deep down, part of me knew. Part of me had been feeling that distance, too. "I didn't expect to feel anything again," she continued. But then I started getting messages too. Warnings. Someone's been watching both of us. That made me stop cold. You too? She nodded. Same unknown number. Same tone. Like someone's trying to control the whole situation. And that's when she pulled out something else, a second photo. This time, not of me and Raj. It was a printed screenshot of a chat between Raj and someone else. But the name on the other end wasn't hers. It wasn't mine either. It was someone else entirely. A third woman. I stared at it, my mind spinning. Who is she? I asked. She looked at me and said, that's what I've been trying to figure out. So now it wasn't just me. It wasn't just her. There was someone else involved, and someone in the background pulling strings. Watching us. Warning us. Maybe even setting us up. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, my phone buzzed again. He's on his way. You have 5 minutes. Tell me, what would you have done in my place? Would you stay and find out what else she knew, or leave before Raj showed up? Could he be hiding more than just an affair? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because whatever's coming next, it's not what you think. I didn't wait for her to say anything else. I grabbed my phone, shoved it into my pocket, and looked toward the door. But something about her expression stopped me. She wasn't scared. She was calm, still. Too calm for someone who just got warned about danger. You're not leaving? I asked. She shook her head. I want him to walk in. I want him to say it to our faces. No more hiding. I stayed. I don't know why. Maybe I needed closure. Maybe I wanted to see the look on his face when he saw us both standing there. Maybe I wanted answers more than I wanted safety. Minutes felt like hours, but the sound of the front door unlocking snapped me back to the moment. Raj walked in slowly, his eyes adjusting to the low light. Then he saw us. His face dropped. He didn't speak. Just stared between the two of us. Then, finally, what is this? I stepped forward. You tell me. He looked stunned, like this was some bad dream he hadn't prepared for. Then his eyes flicked to the table, saw the photos, the chat, the second woman's name. She spoke before I could. We know about her too, Raj. How many lies are you holding on to? He ran a hand through his hair and sat down, like his body just gave up. It wasn't supposed to go this far, he mumbled. I could feel my whole world collapsing and steadying at the same time. The truth was painful, but at least it was truth. You reached out to her while we were married, I said, and then started seeing someone else on the side. He looked at me, eyes tired. It didn't start like that. I didn't plan any of it. I just felt disconnected. Like I was living someone else's life. That's not an excuse, I snapped. That's a confession. And just when I thought we'd reached the worst of it, the unexpected twist came. She, his ex, pulled out one last envelope. Slid it across the table. Raj didn't touch it. I opened it. Inside were printed bank statements, hotel receipts, and most shocking, legal documents. Papers he'd filed under a different name. A secret bank account. A business he was supposedly starting, with the third woman. I looked at him in disbelief. You weren't just cheating emotionally. You were setting up a second life. He didn't deny it. I wanted a way out, he finally said. But I didn't know how to leave without breaking everything. You broke it anyway, I said. And that's when my phone buzzed again. This time, the message wasn't a warning. It was a video. A short, silent clip of Raj with the third woman. Not from a cafe or a hotel, but from our house. Someone had been recording. Watching us. This whole time. I looked up at him. Who's sending these? His face went pale. I don't know. But I saw fear in his eyes. Real fear. And that's when I realized, maybe he wasn't in control either. So, what do you think? Was Raj just a selfish liar, or is there someone bigger pulling the strings behind all this? Who sent those messages? Who's watching? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this story isn't over yet. Raj didn't speak after that video played. He just stared at the floor like all the weight of his choices had finally landed. I didn't know what to say either. I felt numb. Tired. But one thing was clear, he hadn't just been dishonest with me. He hadn't just hurt me. He'd lost himself trying to live two lives, and in the end, he wasn't in control of either. We never found out who sent the messages. The number went dead the next day. No name, no trace. But whoever it was, they knew everything. Maybe it was someone close to Raj. Maybe it was the third woman, trying to warn us both. Or maybe it was someone else entirely, someone watching the whole mess unfold, waiting for it to fall apart. I left that apartment that night with no dramatic goodbye, no shouting, no final scene. Just quiet understanding. Me and the other woman, we didn't talk much after that. We didn't need to. We were both left with the same truth. We were part of someone else's unfinished story. A few weeks later, I filed for separation. No revenge, no screaming match. Just the end of something that had already fallen apart long before I saw the signs. I started over, slowly. I focused on myself. My peace. My freedom. And for the first time in months, I wasn't living in fear of a new message or another lie. As for Raj, I don't know what happened to him after that. He moved out, closed the account, and cut ties with both of us. Maybe he started over, maybe he's still running from the truth. But that's not my story to follow anymore. Sometimes, love turns into something else. Not hate, not regret, just distance. And sometimes, the person you trust the most becomes a stranger sitting across the dinner table. But even when it breaks you, it teaches you something real. About boundaries. About silence. About listening to your gut before it screams. To anyone watching, thank you for staying with me through this entire story. I want to know how you feel about the ending. Was justice served? Was there something deeper going on? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to see a sequel, maybe exploring who was behind the messages, let me know. Because some stories don't really end, they just change chapters. Summary: a woman's seemingly perfect marriage begins to unravel after a mysterious message hints her husband may be emotionally involved with someone else. As she digs deeper, she discovers hidden truths, emotional betrayal, secret lives, and someone watching from the shadows. When her husband is finally confronted, the story takes a dark turn, revealing that he may not be the only one hiding something. With twists around every corner, this suspenseful relationship story keeps you hooked until the last second. YouTube video description, based on title: I had no idea my husband was meeting someone else. Husband-wife relationship story: what happens when the man you trust the most turns out to be a stranger? In this gripping relationship story, a woman uncovers secrets, emotional cheating, and a second life hidden behind her husband's smile. With themes of romance, betrayal, and emotional suspense, this luxury lifestyle story reveals the darker side of trust, love, and secrets. As the truth unfolds, you'll be left questioning who's really in control. Clapperboard watch until the end for the shocking twist you won't see coming. Speech balloon, tell us in the comments, did she make the right choice? Red heart, #like, comment, and subscribe for more emotional, high-stakes stories about love, loyalty, and life's biggest betrayals.